Hey, what's happening? What's happening? Sunday morning, we're out here again, overcast, but we do our thing regardless of the weather. Maybe if it's pouring, we take a powder for the day. I thought I'd do some weight training today, and we may incorporate some other stuff, but let's just stick with the weight training for the time being. Let's incorporate, I want to do something today that's actually different. Let's do a pull. You've heard of push and pull, the push and the pull routine. Let's do a pull routine today. Let's do some back, biceps, and some forearms, and let's incorporate abs so you won't feel as though you're doing a ton of ab work and you tire yourself out and you become discouraged. Let's incorporate the ab work while we're doing the other body parts and intermittently do the abs going back to the other, so on and so forth. Let's do it that way today. For the time being, simple, hammer curl. You know, I started to do these curls in this way because I noticed that my biceps were flat. They were kind of not as full and not looking that good from the front. So this hammer curl solves that problem because it works the part of the bicep, believe it or not, that accentuates that look from the front. I'm just showing you a side view, just how you see how this exercise is done in strict fashion. But it looks like this from the front. Again, I'm lowering that weight nice and slow. I'm emphasizing that negative part of the movement. I'm not about to drop that weight. I'm controlling that weight. Last one. Okay. Now we'll go to that traditional exercise, the one-arm row. Actually, by the way, if you can pan here, I have a light pair of dumbbells. I have a heavier pair of dumbbells. Today I'm going with the 25s and the 10s to demonstrate. Of course, you use heavier poundage or lighter poundage, perfectly fine. The one arm row, you don't need to lean on anything whatsoever. I like to lean on the inner part of my thigh. And I'm rowing. Kind of like starting a lawnmower. My back is flat. On top of the movement, I'm flexing my upper back. 9, 10, how about 2 more? That weight is always under control, lowering that weight, of course. We'll get that later. 1, my head is up. See, when you keep your head up, you keep your back flat. 5, 6, 7, 8. Lowering that weight slowly. Flexing the back on top of the movement. Last one. Good. Step down here. Now we're about ready to incorporate some abdominals, but let's first do something for the traps. That nice muscle up above there, below the neck, leading into those deltoids. Just a lifting of the shoulder. Those hands merely carry the weight. You're not bending. Your power is coming from your trapezius, that muscle I spoke about. Pausing at the top of the movement, lowering that weight. That's it. Let's go 2 more for time. 1, 2. Good. So now let's go for a more traditional bicep movement. Let me go over to my lighter pair of dumbbells. Let's try this roundhouse curl. Turning while lowering that weight, curling, turning, lowering that weight, curling. This engages the forearms as well as the biceps. You can't help but develop a complete arm with this type of movement. And it may not be for every day or every time you work your biceps and forearms, but it's certainly a variation you want to employ from time to time. Swing it all the way back and emphasize keeping those shoulders back, driving that weight up. Again, I'm using this light weight for demonstration purposes. You use your appropriate weight, something you could handle for 15. Let's do 2 more. Turn and underneath. Nice. And you know, as far as using the correct poundage, it's interesting how it works because you don't want to overemphasize or overdo it with the amount of weight that you're using, because when you're doing a tremendous amount of weight, you tend to cheat. And we know that the curl becomes a swinging motion using, you know, a lot of lower body, a lot of upper back, and not utilizing these biceps that you wish to train on that particular day. Let's go into another back movement. This time I'll take the 2 dumbbells in a bent over row fashion, and my head's up, my feet are shoulder width apart, my focus is forward always, my back is flat. Lift, oops, lift, lift. My knees are soft, they're slightly bent to take the pressure off my back. How about 4 more? 1, 2, 3, 4. Classic bent over row using dumbbells. In fact, the dumbbells are much more efficient with that movement, in my opinion, because I don't believe that a barbell is very versatile. Dumbbells are much better. I like it for that movement, as a matter of fact. Now, let's do something. We'll go back to the bicep. We'll get to those abs in a minute. But let's go back to that bicep. This one, you've read in the magazine since 1970, right? Those who are 60 years old, like myself. The concentration curl. I like to do it seated sometimes standing. Now, if you use a 30, for instance, for your traditional dumbbell row, well, you want to drop the weight considerably lower for your concentration curl, so it becomes a concentration curl. The arm hangs on the inner thigh. Again, I'm always protecting my low back. Curl. There's no such thing as putting a peak on a bicep. When they tell you that, they don't know what they're talking about. But there is such a thing, changing angles when you work your bicep to get a more complete look. 8, 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, I'm focusing on the negative part of the movement. The raising of the weight is something you'll always be able to focus on. That's just natural. But if you emphasize the negative part of the movement, you'll be ahead of the game. Switching. The other arm gets the same treatment. Concentration, big squeeze on top of the movement, a lot of control, lowering the weight. How about 6 more? 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I thought I'd focus on a few body parts. You know, normally I do the thing where I hit the entire body every workout. I'm not really about training like a traditional bodybuilder anymore. Again, I mentioned that I'm up a little bit in age, so I kind of want to. I don't care how big I get anymore. It used to be a time when I wanted to become, of course, very huge and have extreme muscle size. It doesn't matter to me. You got to be functional, and that's the key. Functionality is what it's all about. Because think about this: you can look great in a shirt. You can walk around like you're king of the world, but I see too many people lose their athleticism along the way, because if you go into a gym and pound weights constantly, you're going to get the body that kind of coincides with that type of training. Stationary training where you're situated at machines all the time and working certain body parts, it's not functional. Your body, you cannot move as well as you want to. So I always incorporate a lot of cardio, always incorporate some movements that are not very traditional, but today I wanted to do something a bit more traditional. Let's do some ab work on this concrete slab. And when I say that, this thing here is a hard surface, so to do a traditional crunch is a little rough on the lower back, so I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to go for this movement, this little scissor movement, leg raise, where you're emphasizing the abdominals while bending the knees slightly in a scissor movement. You're trying to take the legs out of the movement as much as possible, and you're flexing the abs, lifting with the abs, not so much with the legs, although the legs come into play, you can't help it. And you're lifting, squeezing. 4 more. 3, 2, 1. Good. Maybe you want to lead into a tabletop after that. You can. This little thing I like to call, what do I call this? Being goofy? This little thing tends to tighten me up here and keep the obliques in position. Holding that, and you're emphasizing that midsection. Holding that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we'll switch. Opening up. Holding. How about a 20 count? Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Grabbing your dumbbell. Lengthwise. Twisting. With a bent knee, I should emphasize that first, twisting. You're on that angle that feels comfortable for you. My comfortability might not be yours, but I like it about right here. Twisting, twist. Like you're handing that dumbbell off to somebody to the side of you. And you can do about 25 of these. I'm going to do 4 more just for time. 1, 2. I turn my hip the opposite way as I turn the dumbbell to that particular side. Little trick. Back to a tabletop, or they call a tabletop, because I guess I'm imitating a table. I like these scissors. Now you're alternating. Lift. Anything that emphasizes the abdominals from this position is fine. Is a variation of what we did before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one's a little bit strange, but it works for me. I'm thinking if you could step over here. This one, they're runners. I call them runners. I don't know what they're traditionally called, or I don't know the traditional name, but you're turning with knees up, turning the abdominals, turning the trunk, I should rightly say, the trunk, turning, slow enough to emphasize the middle. Make sure your pants don't fall down, because mine are. Four more for time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, we'll finish it off for today, a short one today. We'll get our dumbbells, and because we trained some abs and because we trained the back and the biceps, we'll do the old stiff-legged dumbbell, the stiff-legged deadlift, the hamstring deadlift, as they say. I like to hold my dumbbells this style, in this manner when I do these. I see people hold them in a neutral grip. I like to hold them underhand. Again, I don't bend my knees much on this one, but you may want to. Straight down, flat back, and up. Down, and up. You're stretching those hamstrings, squeezing that back. My head's up, my back's flat. How about we go 4 more, the hamstring deadlift. Last one. Excellent. And you know, I mentioned before, right now it's about 11 o'clock in the morning, on a Sunday morning as a matter of fact. I haven't eaten a thing. I've been up for, gosh, it's been 6 hours now. I haven't eaten. I feel great. I feel fine. I've drank quite a bit, hydrated. That's important. But the fasting that I've done has been since 6 o'clock last evening. I have not eaten. I'll go home now, calm down, shower up, and when I'm ready, I'll have my first meal. Stay away from the idea of breakfast, lunch, dinner. That was made by some cockamamie cereal company many years ago to sell more cereal, actually. Eat when you're hungry. Practice the fasting that we're talking about on this video. Don't eat breakfast for a while. We eat too much food. And those who have an eating difficulty, or you're not getting enough calories, you have a psychological problem of some kind, I'm not shortchanging you or telling you to do something against advice from a professional, but I think we eat too much in general. And that breakfast can be, a substitute for breakfast can be a workout. I'll end up eating my first meal about 12:30, and that's fine with me. It may not work for you, but it works for me. Listen, I'll see you tomorrow with something different. I pride myself on changing up almost every day, so you're sure to get something different. Subscribe to my channel. I don't have many subscribers as of yet because I'm just starting out with this fitness end of the Ralph Romeo YouTube channel, but subscribe if you like the content. It's very simple. It's very easy. It's for those who want to incorporate some exercise in their everyday life. Subscribe to my channel if you would. Thanks so much.